You have Patrick Findaro here, co-founder at VetaBiz and Visa Franchise. Excited to have on Derek Ilich, who's a franchisee of Express Employment Professionals. And he also helps those that are looking in prospective franchisees with sourcing franchises. Derek, thanks so much for joining today.
Hey, thanks for having me. Love being here.
So you've now been a franchisee for what, 10 years now? Could you tell us a bit about your journey into entrepreneurship as well as running a staff, a workforce placement franchise?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, it'll be officially 10 years in March. The way I got here was I was working for a corporate staffing firm in Metro Detroit. I won't name the firm. I was in a middle management role as a branch manager for a couple years, and then unexpectedly was let go, which was a shock because I had planned on staying there for as long as I could. I loved the job, loved the company. So here I am, early 30s.
You married at
Newborn.
the time, kids?
Yep, married at the time, newborn baby, less than 6 months old at home.
Oh, wow.
Just got slashed to single income household. My wife was working as a marketing professional for a large firm out of Seattle. And so now here we are, one income, new baby, mortgage, all the fun stuff. Had a rental house at the time as well. So 2 mortgages. Yeah, so fun times, very relaxing. So I took that time to kind of explore what I really wanted to do. My knee-jerk reaction was get on Indeed, start applying for more jobs, similar jobs, right? Led me to nowhere. I think I probably put out 100 applications, maybe spoke to 10% of those hiring companies. You know, those people that are feeling that right now know what I'm talking about. Backing up, I grew up in a entrepreneurial household. My parents are immigrants from Macedonia, which is part of the former Yugoslavia. As soon as my dad came to this country, he immediately started working for himself. He owns a couple businesses. I grew up working in the family restaurants all through college. So I had that bug in me the entire time. And when I got let go from my job, I said, you know what? I'm not getting callbacks on these applications. This is a sign. Like I need to just do something for myself. I've always wanted to work for myself. And I've always explored trying to buy a business. You know, in the past, I looked at pizzerias, I looked at bars. You know, I just wanted to do something for my own. And through my journeys as a corporate recruiter, I came across Express Employment Professionals. They were always listed in the rankings of, you know, our competitors. And it always stuck out to me that they were the only name on there that was franchised, independently owned. And so I looked into it. And after speaking with a lot of their VPs and doing my due diligence and my discovery, I really aligned with not just what they did as an organization, but their culture. And it was just a perfect fit. And so I opened my doors in March, late February, early March of 2014. And here we are, 10 years later. I've grown my staff from what was just me, a recruiter, and a receptionist to now a staff of 9 people. And yeah, it's been great. It's been the best decision I ever made for not just for myself, but for my family. And it's created so many opportunities and so much freedom that I would never think twice. I would do it again in a heartbeat.
That's incredible. I mean, I'm sure those 10 years, especially at the beginning, stages were quite tough, but it does look like all the hard work has really paid off. And one thing that resonated with me was you mentioned culture, and I've heard that about Express Employment. You're not the first one to mention that. Do you think it has to do with the ownership structure, the executives, or more of the fellow franchisees, or some combination?
I think it's all the above. It definitely starts from the top. You know, their whole culture starts with servant leadership, right? So they're of a servant heart. And that's what they preach. You know, we are not a staffing firm. We're not a temp agency. We are here to provide hope and opportunities to people, right? We take that very, very seriously, and we're very, very passionate about it. And I think Express does a great job of identifying franchisees that align with that. But also as owners here in Michigan, we have about 22 offices, and we're all very close. We are a family of Michigan owners, and we all share the same passion, the same drive to put Michigan back to work. And so it just kind of all meshes together, but it definitely starts from the top for sure.
And then how does it work? Is it like friendly competition with these other franchisees, or do you have like an exclusive territory? How does that work?
Yeah, so the territories are exclusive. So we have hard lines that we are not allowed to sell out of. Now, there have been situations where a company has maybe crossed over and has multiple locations. And the great thing about that is because of the relationships within the Michigan team, there's never been any bad blood, any animosities. Like, we work it out. It's all about communication. So we talk to each other. We're here to lift each other up, right? So we like to think of it as, it's not just our own independent business, but Express is a brand. And what we do represents everybody else in the market. So all the other owners. It's been a great experience.
And is the tenure like pretty long? Like of these 22 franchisees, is it mostly people like, 5 to 15 years, or what do you usually see?
Yeah, no, definitely. There's lots of tenure. There's lots of legacy offices. I mean, Express has over 850 locations, right? So I've come across many owners that took over their parents' business, and they're my age. I'm in my 40s. I'm 45. And, their parents have had it for nearly 30 plus years. So there's definitely a lot of tenure. In Michigan, I would say there's several offices. Our Grand Rapids owner, she just celebrated 25 years in business, and I'm at 10, and we have a few newer ones that just opened up, but for the majority, yeah, it's 10 or plus.
What's like the ideal client that you would have day after day? You mentioned automotive industry. Like, is there a type of client that Express, or particularly your franchise, really serves well?
Yeah, look, we're here in the business to help small and mid-sized companies. That's who our target is. Those operations that don't have an HR team, that don't have a payroll team, right? Because as a small business owner, speaking from experience, we wear a lot of hats. And our goal is to partner with clients in our market to help alleviate some of the pressure and the stress when it comes to hiring, especially these last few years since the pandemic. It's been a major challenge. And if you're not dedicated to that 100% of the time, you're behind the eight ball. So we're here to supplement and assist those small and mid-sized companies and help them continue to grow and continue to be profitable.
And what type of labor are we talking about? Is it mostly unskilled? Is it people with advanced degrees? What type of niche or multiple niches do you guys play in?
Yeah, so we're full service. We operate in a few different divisions. We have our light industrial and manufacturing, which is typically your unskilled. We do staff skilled trades, which has been a big need in the market lately. We do our office services, which is anything from entry to mid-level office and administrative roles. And then we also have our professional division that handles anything from your engineering, technical, up to chief executive officer levels.
And then how does it work in terms of your team's time spent, like, or even you, even in the early stages too, like business development, getting new small businesses, mid-sized businesses onto the platform versus finding the staff and getting the staff? Because you're essentially a marketplace, a really well curated marketplace, but sitting in the middle.
Yeah, so we're servant based, but at the core of it all, we're a sales organization, right? Whether that's selling to get business from clients in the market or recruiting is sales, right? So being able to know how to communicate to both sides of the fence is really important, because we have to set ourselves apart from some of the competitors in the market and really elevate what we can offer as a small business.
I guess a competitive advantage that you are, a small business selling to a small business versus one of your corporate competitors that it's more of a hired gun, and there's not as much of a connection, I'd imagine.
100%. I always tell my clients and my prospects is, listen, you have a problem at 3 a.m, you can call me, the owner, on my cell phone. I'll answer it. What corporate recruiter is going to do that for you, right?
You couldn't pay someone enough to do that.
No, you can't. There's something to be said about a small business. We are willing to do what others are not, right? So yeah, I think that's a huge advantage for us. We do have several corporate staffing competitors in the market, and we've been very successful in securing relationships that they're not able to, based on the fact that we're local and we're independently owned and operated.
I imagine for you, I mean, you basically got paid in your prior job as a training to do this position, but other people are not coming from the corporate staffing. What are some profiles of franchisees, your fellow franchisees, or in Michigan or beyond, and the Express Employment Professionals system that it's like, okay, this type of profile does really well and is able to really grow and make a lot of money in this franchise system?
Great question. So obviously anybody with a sales background is going to do very, very well in this business, because you have to be comfortable in getting out, meeting with people, talking to people, pulling door handles in the beginning, cold calling. That's all part of the game. Talking to people you've never spoken to before. So sales is huge. Anybody who's developed relationships, whether that's from an HR background or a managerial background. Those type of experiences do very well. So that's what we've seen to be most successful.
And tell me a little bit about your transition from being 50, 60 hours in the business, working a lot, to now helping other franchisees and taking the next step in the business evolution and your professional trajectory.
That was a long journey, I'll have to say. One of the tools I thought I had coming into this opportunity was strong leadership skills. And I thought I knew how to be a leader, right? I thought a leader was a boss, and that's not the case at all. So I really had to work on developing my leadership skills, my communication skills, and learning how to develop my internal team so that would allow me to work on my business versus working in my business. So those first couple of years, it was a lot of trial and error. Made a lot of mistakes. I still make a lot of mistakes, but back then the mistakes were purely driven on my inability to lead and to communicate properly, and that caused a lot of turnover internally in my office, which resulted in me having to work those 50, 60 hours a week, and frustrations with people, leaving and having to retrain and the cost of doing all that. But I have to say now, 10 years in, what made that turn was me taking a step back and really taking accountability on the things that I needed to work on, right? So I really dug my heels in and focused on my leadership development. Express headquarters has a program called Express Leadership Academy, which is a 2-year course on leadership development for franchisees. So I enlisted in that as soon as I was eligible. And that really was the catalyst that took me to the next level.
So obviously 2 years course, there's a ton to take away from that, but were there some high level major lessons that you took away and really cultivated after that?
Yeah. So number one, the first thing that I learned was that not everybody's motivated by money, right? I'm a sales guy. So
Probably most people not.
No, they're not at all. And for me, I kind of was, because I was a sales guy. I was very hungry. I wanted to be financially successful. So that was one of my motivators. I thought that everybody would be motivated by money, right? So if I just threw bonuses at them, then they would do whatever I wanted. Not the case at all. So yeah, way off the mark. But the biggest thing was learning to identify and establish our culture, not the Express culture, Derek Ilich's office culture. Who are we? Who do we want on our team? Where do we see ourselves going? So our culture, our mission, our vision. Once we had that in place, we were able to hire better, retain, train. It was a complete 180 from where we were.
How long did it take to really implement that, where every new hire kind of went through and you were making sure that their core values were aligned and they got the role and they were capable to do it, et cetera?
Yeah, so immediately. So once I learned that process from the ELA courses, we took it back, and that was part of our requirements. Part of the curriculum was to take what we just learned and now implement it into your office. So we had input from the team that we had at the time. They helped us develop our culture. They helped us develop our values. And then we immediately started hiring to those right away. They're part of our questionnaires during the initial interview process. On my annual performance reviews, you're rated on those values. It's at the heart of who we are.
One, if you don't mind saying, what's like one of the core values that is constantly top of mind for everyone?
So our 4 core values are integrity, quality, enrichment, and passion. Those are the 4 things we look for in the individuals that are on our team. So integrity speaks for itself, right? Are you trustworthy? Are you going to do what you're going to say you're going to do? Are you going to play the blame game, or do you hold yourself accountable for things? Passion, you have to have a certain level of love for what we do. It's not an easy business. There are a lot of challenges. You have to have that servant heart and want to help elevate people, right? By finding them employment. Quality speaks for itself. We'd rather do things right than to do things fast. And then enrichment. Our whole purpose is to enrich the lives of everybody we encounter, whether that's through a job or through supplying them for with staffing needs. So those are the 4 key things we look for.
So you have your internal team that's about 10, and then flowing down, like how many people right now are working on your client site? Is it in the hundreds?
So on average, we're anywhere from 140, 160 people per week on an assignment, but we also do direct hire placements as well. So we have probably about 50 or 60 people throughout the year that get placed on direct hire. And then our goal with those contractors is to get converted into a permanent role with our clients. So we have a huge percentage of our associates that go from contract to direct hire at the end of those contract terms.
And I imagine everything that you've done to fine tune your business with the leadership development program, having the core values front and center, it's been a net positive for your immediate organization, but then flowing down to all the contractors and associates getting placed, as well as probably you can be like a true HR advisor to some of these small business owners and mid-sized business owners.
Yeah, and we are. We're not just a place of employment. Our whole vision is to be the name and the brand you think of when you think of employment, whether that's a hiring need or you have questions in the marketplace about wages. We're a member of the local chamber. We're a member of the local Society of Human Resources, where we speak and hold webinars and learning sessions. So we're a full service employment agency that can supplement anything you might need as a small business.
And then what led you to want to start helping other people go into business ownership and hopefully, have it not forced upon them like it happens to so many entrepreneurs where it's not their choice that they go into entrepreneurship, but it's a blessing in disguise, but maybe helping them earlier get into being their own boss, you could say.
Yeah, well, again, it goes back to that servant heart thing, right? So I've always liked helping people find jobs. That's what brought me into staffing and staying in that industry. And then that just kind of escalates into helping people find the right business for them. I've had such a great experience with being a franchise owner. It's changed my life that I want to be able to offer these options to people that might be in that same role that I was in 10 years ago.
It seems like there's different types of ways to make money in your business model. Could you just give like a rough breakdown of like how the economics work for a staffing business and how an express employment professional's franchisee mostly makes money?
Yeah, so majority of our business is based on contract work. So let's say client A comes to us and says, Derek, we need a forklift driver in our warehouse. Right? We typically pay $10 an hour. We're just going to say for math purposes, keep it simple. So what we'll do on our end is we typically will provide a markup on those $10 that provides us with a margin. So let's say 50% markup. So we have that $5 margin. With that, we include our background checks. We include drug screenings. We do all the hiring. We do the pre-screening. We source. We advertise the job. So we do all the legwork for the clients. And then we'll invoice them each week based on how many hours that person has worked. That's our number one revenue driver. It's the contract model. We also offer our professional search services, which we also refer to as direct hire. And that typically works as a one-time fee. It's a percentage of the annual salary. And then same system, same process. We'll screen, interview, and then present candidates to the client. And then upon the client's hiring choices, they are a direct employee of that company.
And then I imagine there's incentives in line too, where you're properly compensated if one of those amazing contractors switch over and becomes a direct hire.
There is, if they choose to hire somebody early or convert them prior to the contract, there is a fee. But if they retain them throughout the life of the contract, at the end of it, there is no fee to convert them. So that's definitely a benefit. What we've seen in the last year is a lot of early conversions because that talent pool is so short and so small. Once an employee or an employer sees somebody of value, they want to keep them. They don't want to keep them on contract.
That seems like a win-win. You got an amazing employee. The employee's happy. They're getting paid full time, and you got compensated for the whole work.
Absolutely. And at the end of it, that's our end game, is to get this person a full-time job. So we celebrate them. We call them our express elites. So every time someone gets hired on, it's a big celebration in our office. Their name goes on the board in our office. We send them a gift. It's a big deal.
They tell like 10 of their friends that are also looking for work, hey, go through this express system with Derek and his team.
Absolutely. That's definitely a plus if that happens.
And Derek, I mean, you have a lot of opportunities, whether it's continuing to grow Express, other investments. Why start advising other professionals to go into the franchising space, to be their own franchise owner?
Because of my own experiences, it was literally the best choice I made professionally. And I would never look back on it and second guess it. At the core, I also have that servant heart. Part of my passion for doing what I do in staffing is to help people find jobs. This is just another level of that, helping people find business opportunities, to become their own boss, to get out of that corporate hamster wheel, as I like to call it. I want to let people know that there's options out there. If you lose your job, it is not the end of the world. There are so many different things that you can do that, people don't even think of. So I wanted to make sure that I offer my services, my experience, my expertise in the franchise journey. And if someone wants to ride along, then I'm happy to provide them with everything they need.
Are there any industries that you've particularly taken a liking to, or that you've been surprised that the franchise business model really works well for?
There's not any one that I've taken a liking to. I think it really all depends on your clients.
Yeah.
So I have seen a lot of people navigate towards the home improvement brands lately. I've seen a lot of interest in that, primarily because a lot of them can, be a work from home model in the beginning. So it's not a major investment. You don't need the experience. You don't need to be a roofer professional to buy a roofing franchise. You just need to know how to operate the business and follow a system. So those have been very popular lately. The health and wellness space has been growing ever since the pandemic. Health and wellness has been on everybody's mind. So that's a big one too.
Derek, I really appreciate your time and you sharing all your experience about your journey as a franchisee, which is coming up on 10 years now, and the support that you do for prospective franchisees. Any key takeaways for prospective franchisees that are just getting started, and do's and don'ts for them?
Yeah. So first, definitely contact a broker like myself, because we're able to provide so many options and do all the legwork for you and provide you data that you might not, one, have access to or know that even exists. So connect with the broker. Two, the biggest one is get rid of your limiting beliefs. Okay. There's a million reasons not to do something. You only need one to do it, right? So don't let fear stand in your way. If you've wanted to be an entrepreneur your whole life, if you wanted to own a business, start with the conversation, do some research. Don't be afraid to take that leap. It was life-changing for me. Look, I had a lot to lose 10 years ago, but I took a leap and put faith in myself. And again, I would never second guess what I did. It was the best decision I ever made. But you have to get out of your own way. You have to get out of your own head and keep an open mind.
Well, Derek, thanks again for joining. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
You can hop on my website, ilichfranchisegroup.com. I'm on LinkedIn, Derek Ilich. I'm on Instagram, ilichfranchisegroup.com, and on YouTube. Any one of those ways you can get a hold of me, and I'd love to chat.
Perfect. We'll be sure to include those tags in the YouTube description, as well as for those listening over podcast, you can check on whether it's Spotify, Apple, or one of the other networks. Derek, thanks again.
Thank you, Patrick. It was a pleasure. Appreciate your time.